Phillip, I'm sorry. I'm going to have my Will Ferrell meatloaf moment again. Go get that Broncos picture down there in the basement, right there. You can bring it up. It's light. I'm going to show you.
Do you ever know what he's doing back there?
Well, he's usually going down there to play Fortnite or doing something like that. Man, it totally went over my head. You made a great joke. Do you ever know what he's doing back there? And I was so flustered by the moment, I missed it, man. So what's up, everybody? Chris Sims Unbuttoned. I am Chris Sims. Paul Birdmeister is here. What's up, Paulie B? How you doing, man?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing well. Good to see you as always. You know what? That was, all these 15 years of watching that clip and laughing every time. The one time I had actual use for it, I blame the delay. I blame the delay and your son for that going over your head. So
yes, it went totally over my head. The delay is weird. It is. It's hard for banter sometimes. But I guess, let's see. How old are your boys right now?
14 and 11.
Oh, so you're going to be seeing lots of movies like that here for at least the next 10 years. So you're going to have lots of great lines to dish out as we go forward on our podcast. What's up? Everything else good in life? What have you been doing lately?
It's all good. Studying a lot of these guys. We got a great group to get to today. Fun group. Every group can be described that way, but corners and safeties are really good this year. Spending a lot of time with the kids, cleaning the house, doing yard work, all the things you're probably doing down the road there. Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, not exactly. Okay, I draw the line in some places. I am trying to help the kids with no cleaning, no yard work. All right, that's just not.
How do you?
That's not what I do.
How do you get away with that? I figure. Every house is a little different, but everybody's at home, so the house turns into a mess because we each have a couple of kids. There are things to do in the yard because it's springtime, and you can only work so many hours of the day. So when the ask comes to pitch in and help out, how do you spit that hook out?
Well, first I go, kids, go out and help do the things in the yard mom wants me to do. All right, that's the first thing I do.
All right,
I give it to them. But really, my wife and I have an old school relationship. If you didn't know it was 2019, we're like a 1958 relationship. She does a lot of the tradition, or 2020, whatever. Right? She does a lot of the traditional motherly duties. I am dad, the disciplinarian, the guy that has to yell at the kids when they don't go to bed at time or whatever it may be. So we kind of stay in our lane. And because of that, my wife ends up doing a lot of work around the house. But, our deal is I let her pay the bills. All right. And I'm also very nice in letting her buy expensive things. So that's kind of how I get away with it. So if you want to know how to get away with it, start buying your wife expensive purses and handbags, and you'll have some leeway.
Do you bring that up and throw it out there? Or is it just unsaid, unwritten rule? Everybody knows it. You don't have to go there all the time.
It's an unwritten rule. Everybody knows it. If you just sat at our house for a day and watched the amount of FedEx and UPS boxes that come in, you would go, wait, who the hell is getting all this stuff all the time? And I'd look at my wife and be like, that one. So, that's our relationship, but all good, man. I know it's crazy times. I'm getting used to this new routine, though, nonetheless.
I know, right? That's the crazy part. We've been at it for a month, but it feels normal to have the kids home doing their school and to do all the things that we're doing now that didn't seem normal 6 weeks ago, but it is part of the routine now. But, as long as as I was listening to you talk about how the duties are divvied up there at your house, as long as there's understanding, that's all good. I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of understanding with your top 5 running backs out there. There may be some. I'm sure there's some understanding, but there's some people that do not understand what is up with DeAndre Swift at number 5. Okay. Hey, we invite that. That makes it fun. It makes it fun when people don't agree with what we think, more in particular what you think. So DeAndre Swift at number 5, I think, has a lot of people reacting and asking. I've got a little bit of social media reaction here for you. This is from Monroe04_legend. He says, Swift is a beast. Every Georgia running back is good. Hopefully the Chiefs will sign him.
Okay, well, no, not every Georgia running back is good. I could point to 2 first-round running backs already and go, it's kind of been a bust with Sony Michel, no Sean Moreno, all right, just to get into that. But that really has nothing to do with DeAndre Swift. And again, I like DeAndre Swift. It's not about me not liking him. where this comes off weird sometimes, and where I feel weird about it sometimes, is I don't want to attack the player. I want to
Right.
attack some of the people who have given this narrative for a year, and this is all they've beaten down everybody's throats and brains, is that he's the best running back. He's the best running back. And first off, to our buddy there, and thank you for the question, there's no way I would be shocked if he goes in the first round. He has no first round traits. Now, he's got some good quickness about him. Out of the other running backs I have on that list, he is the least explosive by far. By far. I mean, I'm talking to the line of scrimmage, acceleration, running through the hole with power and speed. And then I'm also talking about long speed. He struggles to find long distance runs. And when he has a huge hole and there's 20 yards to be gained, he most times just gets about 20 yards. He doesn't get much more than that. Let alone, Paul, he doesn't run with great power. He doesn't break a lot of tackles, nor does, when nothing's there, is he the type of back that's just going to go in there and smash it in there and get 3 or 4 yards when nothing is there. So, between all those attributes, again, it's not a negative on him. He catches the ball well. He's pretty good in pass protection. He certainly can make some people miss in space. But there is a lack of acceleration and explosiveness to his game that is just not on par with some of the other guys that I have in front of him.
And you have him ranked number 5th, and it sounds like you have good reasons, or you're speaking with a lot of conviction about that. I read the one tweet there. As for the other side of DeAndre Swift, and I think I would have had him a little higher as well. Tell me what you think of this. As I'm listening, these are the things that come to my mind about DeAndre Swift. Number one, when he was a true freshman, they found a way to get him on the field and get him touches a lot when there were 2 veteran first-round running backs. Now, you can argue how well they've done in the NFL, but Sony Michel and Chubb,
Nick
Nick and the Bradley.
Nick Chubb's a beast. He's a
right.
beast.
So
yes.
when they had those 2, they found a way to get him touches. And the way they did that was really to play him as kind of a hybrid inside slot receiver. Then he bumped back and got a lot of carries. And I think, one of the reasons I would have him higher, and I'd like to hear how you react to this, a creative offensive coordinator can use him in that slot, catching the football, and you don't want to give him 20 carries a game. I hear what you're saying about not making people miss and not having great acceleration or speed, but if he gets 12 to 15 carries a game and can be a threat in the passing game on 3rd down, a late first-round pick, I could see it.
Well, listen, I wouldn't be shocked either. You know what, Paul, I would be shocked. I would. After seeing this group, now listen to what you're saying as far as how he fits in an offense and everything like that. Agree with you. He's definitely going to have a significant role with whoever drafts him. He's a 3-down running back. He certainly can be a 1st and 2nd down bell cow. And then, to your point, he's very smooth in the pass game. So, it's, again, not about him not fitting. I just don't think he has the elite traits to be mentioned with some of the other guys. Paul, if I saw the same hole for Jonathan Taylor and Dobbins, he would get the least amount out of those guys. Those guys would run for an 80-yard touchdown. DeAndre Swift's going to get 30 yards. Okay. When you talk about Zach Moss, who's got great quickness and unbelievable acceleration and unbelievable ability to break tackles and stiff arm people, and also I think plays every bit as fast as DeAndre Swift, but with more twitch and explosiveness. I just look at those guys and go, man, they all have physical traits that I look at and go, they're elite. That is something I look at and go, wow, there's not a lot of guys in the NFL that have that. And then when you get into the Clyde Edwards-Helaire conversation, to me, he's an animal in which the likes of the NFL hasn't seen a whole lot. I made a comparison to him where I kind of just said, he's Ray Rice, Mark Ingram, but with Darren Sproles type quickness. And I know he looks smaller than DeAndre Swift, but he's 3 pounds smaller and an inch shorter. So it's not much difference there. And again, the film, I know his 40 time wasn't great, but the film speaks a different tune. With all the people he makes miss and runs away from all the time, I think Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor, to me, are the only 2 for sure I look at and go, yes, they're first-round talents. The other guys, I think Dobbins, Moss are top 10 picks in the 2nd round, followed by Swift somewhere in the middle to the back half of the 2nd round. That's my opinion. I've been wrong before, but I feel pretty good about what I've evaluated.
Okay, before we get into the cornerbacks and then the safeties, I want to just get in one more tweet here about your running backs. You already
Cool.
talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit. He's your number one running back. iHeartRadio says, I can't have CEH number one when he's a one-speed runner with no second gear. What's your response to that?
Well, I just don't, one speed runner. I don't think anybody changes speeds and can start and stop and accelerate faster than he can. And he's as fast as I've ever seen it doing some of that stuff. Going through the hole, jump cut, stop, re-accelerate, run away from people. Now, does he have the sixth gear to go 80-yard touchdowns? No, he does not. And that's not part of his game. But he has a special acceleration and a special ability to stick his foot in the ground and make people miss. He breaks a lot of tackles for his size. He can put his head down and drive the pile forward. And then when you get into the route running, Paul, the route running it's Christian McCaffrey-ish. It's special that way. So, yes, I look at him as a different animal that way. And, Paul, I'm not going to lie. I don't really like to say this all the time. But when I went up my running back rankings, I can't tell you how many people I had in the NFL who reached out to me to go, hey, good for you for giving Clyde Edwards-Helaire the top running back. He's the best back in the draft. I got a lot of positive reinforcement there to tell me, okay, I'm not totally crazy, and I think I'm seeing right. And I'm not really going to say that about other positions as far as I'm not going to tell people what they're thinking. I don't like that. But just to let people know, I got a pretty strong reaction on him there. I think he's pretty damn special.
And I think you touched on this just a little bit, but can you specify, and then I promise we'll get into the defensive backs, where would you be comfortable taking him? At what point in the first round?
Yeah, I think anywhere between 22 and 32, I would have no problem. If there's somebody back there in the end of the first round, they're going to get a guy that's, again, a three-down running back with the only weakness being not the best at pass blocking. Okay, that's the only thing I look at in his game and go, eh. But other than that, man, it's a lot of elite traits and a lot of big-time runs and not always huge holes. Again, me, Paul, with quarterbacks or other things. It's about when there's nothing there to be had, what does he make happen? And he makes a lot happen. Same with Jonathan Taylor. Not the same with DeAndre Swift. When nothing's there to happen with him, he's going to go down for a yard gain, or that's it. He doesn't have the type of speed to bounce it outside and run around the corner or the power to push the pile forward 3 or 4 yards. So, again, we'll see. We'll know a little bit more truth next year, but it's a good group nonetheless. And yes, I know DeAndre Swift is 5, but he's still a end to the middle of the round second talent. And who knows, maybe he'll shit all over me one day and prove me wrong. And I welcome that.
You welcome that. Yeah, I know you do. I know deep down you're pulling for all these kids, in spite of what people may think out there. All right, defensive backs. Really fun group to study, fun group to get to know, a lot of good stories in there. And we're going to be here for a while because we're not grouping corners and safeties together, obviously. We're going to go top 5 corners, spend some time there, and then we'll dive in to your best safeties. So we've done this a couple of ways, Chris. I've known your top 5 list going in. Sometimes I've got them written down, and then other times I don't know. And this is one of those times I don't know how you're ranking them. I've got a pretty good feel how you're going at 1 and 2, but after that, I'm not sure. So your number 5 cornerback, fill us in.
My number, I like that you don't know. This is kind of fun. So I'm going to catch you off guard a little bit. But my number 5 quarterback is Trevon Diggs. That's where it starts for me. I don't know why I just chickened out that I said his name wrong, but I said it right? Then it's Trevon.
You got it, Trevon Diggs. You're on.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know why I chickened out there.
You're 1 for 1. It is 2020, not 2019, but you're 1 for 1 in the names.
Yes. But Trevon Diggs. I put him number 5. Here's the good about him. He's got great size. He's got a really good jam at the line of scrimmage. He's got very good feet. I really liked how, he got in and out of breaks. He could plant his foot in the ground and drive on the ball and was really very good at that. Like as good as the top corners in the draft at that. Now, the negatives, maybe a little stiff in the hips, not great at just like when a guy tries to run a go route, his ability to turn and run is a little less than desired when you talk about like the top corners, but it's not bad. And the top speed in general, I think, is something to question. I think he's, again, not slow, but I would think somewhere in the high 4.4s, maybe the low 4.5s. And because of that, there's a little insecurity in his game where he can be grabby too, Paul. He can be grabby,
Yeah.
which bothers me.
And
Pass interference. Yeah.
Right. It's an issue. It's a huge
Right.
issue now, as much as it ever has been in the last 10 years. But as for him running fast, I think there is legit reason to wonder when you watch tape. And it's accelerated that worry, that concern, Chris, because he was healthy at the combine. He did all the drills. He chose not to run. And with the way the world has gone now, there's no way to get a 40 on him. So how much does it bother you, one, that you watch him and like, I don't know if he's a 4.5 guy or not. And then he chose not to run when he was healthy at the combine.
Well, it shows me he has something to hide. Like, he knew he wasn't going to put up an astounding number. And I think he knew he was going to put up a number that, man, if it's a bad day, it could hurt my draft stock, right? I think ultimately that's what he and his team probably made that decision for. Now, again, watching on film in the SEC with all those damn good receivers, I have a hard time thinking he'd ran slower than like 4.52 or 4.53. You know, somewhere in there. I'm not going like, oh man, yeah, he might have ran a 4.6 or something. No way. He can still go. But yeah, it's a little concerning me. It's the number one concern of his game. Now, you know, being Trevon Diggs' brother, man, Paul, when you talk about ball skills out of a corner, it's the best ball skills maybe out of anybody in the draft when it comes to 50-50 ball or I'm playing zone coverage. He's got great feel for what the offense is trying to do and knows how to jump routes and read the quarterback's eye. So he's got great feel in that way.
That makes me wonder why you don't have him higher, because the first thing I have written down here, big elite size. And I know how much you value elite size and traits like that in any kind of potential first-round pick, number one. Number two, I also wrote down tremendous ball skills, great on-ball production this past season. As for the concerns about running, we talked about that, but he also played for Nick Saban, which is a big check in his favor when you talk about a defensive back. How much does it concern you that he's falling, not only because of his speed, but not everybody inside the program will speak real highly of him? And that's something to think about.
I know. It is something to think about. You're right. And, you know, again, these are going to be things that, you know, people are going to have to feel comfortable with him through these video conference, you know, telephone calls and things like that. You know, well, listen, hey, we just saw his brother, you know, who has a semi-reputation in Minnesota for being a little bit of a pain in the ass. So I think that'll probably cause some trepidation in general too. You know, and again, you know, I of course hear those things off field. I haven't heard it enough to know it for sure to just hang my hat on it. But to your point, Paul, you know, to your point, when you ask, like, you're surprised I don't have them higher. Listen, speed's a big deal for me. You know, if you want to cover receivers like Julio Jones who run 4.37, if you run 4.51, you know, that's not going to cut it. And then, you know, the grabby thing is a little bit of an issue too. You know, so I think those are the two things I look at between being, you know, a little stiff in the hips, a little grabby, lacks that sixth gear that I'd like to see. That's why he'll be, you know, that's why he's my number 5 corner, but still like him a whole lot and expect him to be drafted somewhere in the top 40 picks of the draft.
Right. And he also brought on the widest range, I thought. I talked to one person that couldn't stand him, hung up the phone, called another evaluator. Hey, he's my number 1 corner. I love this guy. Can't see why he's falling. I think he's great. So he's the guy who brought on the widest range of evaluation. I don't know who's going to be right or wrong. I just kind of make mental notes and then sift it all down. And that's what I sussed out at the end was there's some guys who really like him and there's some people who don't like him at all. And I didn't have as much variation on the other ones.
Yeah, well, you know, Paul, too, you know, I'm big on speed. And I'm big on when I evaluate my corners, I base them on the value, first off, of what they can do in man-to-man coverage. You know, you can teach guys how to play zone. You can't teach everybody how to run with Odell Beckham Jr. and you know, Julio Jones up the sideline. That's a special type of athlete and specimen, and we're going to get into some of those here as we go, but that's the biggest reason he's not towards the top 2 or 3 corners of the draft for me.
Okay, Trevon Diggs, Alabama, number 5. Who do you have at number 4?
Kristian Fulton from LSU. I mean, this is one of my guys right here. You know, again, I don't think this is a guy that's going top 15 or top 20 in the draft, but I think he very easily could be somewhere between 22 and 32. I do. Now, first off, Paul, just as I said, it's LSU. And LSU, you know what the defense they play? They go cover that over there. You got him. You see that over there? You cover him.
You go get him.
And I like that. Okay? It's in your face, man-to-man, 90% of the game. It doesn't matter if we're playing Alabama with four guys or whatever.
And did you watch him? Did you watch him against Alabama? He showed up.
Yes.
Yeah, against all four of those guys.
No doubt. He's a baller. He welcomes the challenge. He's got great toughness. He's got great quicks. You know, his ability to stick his foot in the ground and drive on the ball, I thought was as good as just about anybody in the draft. You know, from that standpoint, play strong. I mean, yes, he's 6 foot 197. He doesn't look like he's 6 foot. He plays a little smaller than that, but his strength is better than the person that's 6 foot 197. I mean, when he battles bigger receivers downfield, yeah, they might catch it every now and then, but he's not like getting physically outmatched. He's there. He's close. He almost makes the play. So I'm really impressed with Kristian Fulton.
After watching him and listening to some people, I have written down right here in my notes, if Chris doesn't have him in his top 3, ask him why he isn't in his top 3. So he's almost there. He's at 4. I can tell you really like him, but why don't you like him even more?
Well, I think the biggest thing, again, will go back to the top end speed conversation. And that's really it for me. I mean, I wrote his acceleration and burst out of transition, out of backpedal is as good as anybody in the class. I'm just trying to get to one of my drive on the field, great open field tackler. My biggest issue is I wish he was a hair faster. Again, all
Same
right,
thing.
Paul.
Same as Diggs.
Well, yes, and it's still really good. Again, it's going to be able to cover 90. But when we're talking about getting into the top 20 picks of the draft, or you're talking about a franchise corner, Paul, there's really not many in history who run in the mid to high 4.4s who will go down as the all-time greats. You know, you go through the list: Darrelle Revis, Deion Sanders. You know, the great ones of today with Marlon Humphrey, Marshawn Lattimore. They're low 4.4, high 4.3 type of guys. So again, I really like the kid. I think the only thing missing would be that long speed. Again, what I'm talking about, when you got to face the elite receivers, will he be able to run down the field with all of them and can tend to be a little grabby as well? Really love the kid, love him. Got a man crush on him, but yes, I just don't think he's quite in the class as the next 3 guys we're going to get to.
Can you use a first-round pick on someone it sounds like you're describing who might be the second corner on whatever team he goes to?
Well, because he might not be the second corner on whatever team he goes to. I think he's got a good chance to go to a team and still be the first corner. I do.
And be the guy? Okay.
He'd be the guy. I think he can do that. I do. You know, I'm just saying I have a hair trepidation about saying, oh, he's a top 15 pick, just because I wish there was a little bit better of a 4.4 speed instead of 4.46. Everything else about the guy I like. I really do. There's not going to be much complaints about me. And one of my favorite players in the draft, he reminds me of J.C. Jackson up in New England, Paul. He's that type of talent to me. Great strength, really good at changing direction, understands how to play the ball. Like I said, I just wish there was just a half of more of a rocket up his ass so I could feel comfortable with the speed burners in the NFL that he can run with those type of guys.
Okay. So Diggs, Alabama at 5, Fulton, LSU number 4. Who is
so
your number 3
you got
corner?
good reviews for Kristian Fulton, though, from the people you called, is what you're telling me.
Absolutely. So kind of what I do, I will watch him a little myself. I don't think I watch with the same trained eye as you, but I like to put my eyes on him myself. I'll pick whatever position we're hitting that week. I'll pick 3 or 4 guys, an analyst I really like, a GM I know, an evaluator. I pick 3, and I just kind of take notes and see how it lines up with what I saw myself. And everybody, all 3 people I talked to, had much more positive than negative to say about Fulton. And I like that all 3 pointed to the Alabama game and said, you got to watch him play against Alabama. I mean, he was all over the field. He didn't get the 4th best of the 4 Alabama studs. He kind of spent time with all of them and showed up that entire game. So that was somebody, unlike Diggs, who, like we talked about, had a wide range. Fulton was pretty solid, everything I heard about him.
I would be shocked if he doesn't go in the first round. He's a first round
That's what
corner.
it sounded like. Yeah.
He is a first round corner. Again, some of the guys we've seen drafted at the corner position the last few years, and then the first round, I would sit here and go, oh, he's every bit as good, if not better, than a lot of them. So, yes,
right.
If somebody took him at 18 or 19, I wouldn't go, oh, that's crazy.
You wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah. No, I really, really like the kid. I do. I just got 3 guys here in front of him that I like a hair more.
Right. Okay. Let's get there. Number 3. Who do you see?
Jeff Okudah is going to be my number 3. From Ohio State.
I didn't say number 1.
Yeah, well, I know. Okay, he's number 3. He's number 3. He's really good.
I've not heard him outside of 2, and up until about a week ago, it was really surprising to hear someone had, Henderson ahead of him. So at number 2, I was ready for. I wasn't ready to hear that you have him at number 3. That's a headline.
Yes. Well, the guys I have in front of him are clearly more physically gifted than he is. Okay. Okudah.
What are other people seeing? What are other people
they're
seeing in
a
Okudah
really well-schooled. This is where you got to be careful. And Okudah's really good. Again, this is where, and Pete Demolitolitis will tell you, I struggled in ranking, because Okudah, technique-wise, playing the position, is really well-schooled and polished. I mean, he really is. Now, he's not the type of corner that they just go, hey, you go guard that guy and man him up all game long. No, they have a lot of different defenses they use. They don't use their corners that way. He gets the ability to play zone coverages a lot of time. He's had a great pass rush there, So I look at it from that standpoint and go, listen, is he the most technically sound? Does he have good speed? Yes. I'm not blown away by it. Okay. All right. Is his ability to stick his foot in the ground and, get in and out of transition? It's all really good, Paul. It really is. It's hard for me. But, I will question if he's physically as raw talented as Kristian Fulton, who I have a spot behind him. Again, I like a lot of the things Okudah does, but, in the Big Ten, first off, there's not a ton of great receivers. When he did have to play Penn State and match up with KJ Hamler, it was scary. I mean, if the quarterback at Penn State would have had half a clue, Hamler would have had 100-and-something yards if he just went over to him in man-to-man situations. So
was he man-to-man on him, or was that zone?
A few times he was. A few times, A few times it was man. But again, they play a lot of zone too. But I just don't see enough physical raw ability for me to sit here and just go, oh, he's a top 5 pick. There's no way he's a top 5 pick. I'm sorry.
Really?
And that's why you're hearing the Detroit Lions are trying to trade out of the pick. That's why, because they know there's 4 other corners that even if we don't have them ranked above Okudah, we have them a smidgen below. So we're not going to waste the number 3 pick on him when we think there's 4 other guys that we could get 10 picks from now. So I just don't see that great, ability to mirror wide receivers, elite athletes, and I don't see the elite long speed. Again, I'm going to say, for a corner to be in the top 5 or top 10, and he runs 4.48, that's insane. That's great slot corner type speed. That's not, again, when you get into the all-time great corners of Dion, like I said, Darrell Green, Darrelle Revis, Marshawn Lattimore. I'm just talking about the guys that can get on an island and play man-to-man. And to me, that's where it starts. Can I trust you to do that? Okay. And then maybe I'll take you in the top 10. He would scare me there. And that's where that's where I notch him down just a little bit.
Couple of things. I mean, Dion set that bar awfully high, running the 4.19 or 4.2, whatever he did. Aren't there a lot of really, really good number 1 cornerbacks in the NFL that are 4.4 guys? I mean, isn't 4.4? It's not great,
but he's closer to 4.5. That's the problem. I would feel a whole lot better if the film said even if he ran 4.48, Paul, and I looked at the film and said, wow, he plays faster than 4.48. Forget that 40 times.
Right.
I would be. I have no issue with that. But the film says he runs about 4.48 to 4.50.
That's what he okay. Hey,
That's to
I
me
don't
what
want
he
to.
looks
Yeah,
like.
I
Now
don't
he's
want to
got
try and talk
greasy
you out of what you're
hips.
seeing. I don't want to
I
try and
know,
talk
I
you
know.
out of
You're
what
not
you're
going to talk
seeing.
me out. Yeah.
I'm not trying to. I'm playing the curious fan who really sat up when you have everybody else's one or two corner at number 3. So the speed thing jumps out. But let's keep unpacking this. I want to read a
Yeah.
couple of things I have, and you
Sure.
just react to it. You just react to what I have. This is my
Great.
own observation right here because I was kind of in this last week just comparing him to CJ Henderson out of Florida, who is either going to show up at number 2 or number 1 for you. I wasn't comparing him to the Clemson kid, Terrell, who we'll talk about as well here coming up. But I wrote down athletically, stylistically similar to Henderson. He's just better. Talk me out of that.
Well, yeah, I don't, I think when
What
you're
am I not
saying
seeing?
better, I want to say he's better technique wise. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way he's as physically raw talented as Henderson. Henderson's
Okay.
ability, first off, Henderson ran down Jamar Chase of LSU. I mean, Henderson has elite speed. Like, I would have guessed watching him that he ran faster than 4.39 at the combine. Henderson's ability to put his foot in the ground and drive on the ball, I think, is elite. I mean, it's like he gets shot out of a cannon. Now,
What
Okudah's is
about his?
good.
Mm-hmm.
Okudah's is good. And he's got great hips, and he's always technically sound with a lot of the things he does. Henderson's a
Mm-hmm.
little more raw. He just, again, Florida is a little bit like we talked about with LSU, or what we're going to talk about with Clemson here in a little bit, where they don't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a whole lot of teaching going on. It's just, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're awesome. Go cover that guy. And that's what
Yeah.
he does all game long. And I put a lot of stock into that. Again, we
Right.
can teach him technique. We can teach him zone coverages. Maybe he's not as good as Okudah, but I think in a
Mm-hmm.
man-to-man situation against the elite receivers in the NFL, yeah, I'm going to trust Henderson more than I am in an Okudah. Now, Okudah's more skilled and well-ready and versatile as far as knowing defenses and zone coverages. And this is where I got into an issue when I was going through my ranking. I went, okay, like, is he a hair better as a overall player right now when you take everything into account? Okudah, yes, a lot of the things are very well schooled and put together, but I'm going to go in the cornerback position more with the raw physical ability than I am the schooled technique guy. I am. And also, it's a reason I think you've seen some busts come out of Ohio State. I mean, Eli
Mm-hmm.
Apple was the number 10 pick. Garion Conley was his first round pick. I think they're really well taught, let alone they have usually the best pass rusher in football coming off the edge that helps them out too.
Which,
But,
yeah, which,
again, I like Okudah. Let's just make this straight, okay?
Yep.
Okudah's a top 15 pick.
Okay,
There's
that was
no
my
way
next
I would
question.
take him in the top 5 with as close as everybody else is, okay? There's no way. Whether you have him 1 or have him 2 or 3, to me, I don't know how you could look at it and go, oh, the difference is that much greater. Like, I'll use an example from 2 years ago with Denzel Ward. He was the 4th pick of the draft. I think you talk to anybody in football right now, they tell you the 27th pick of the draft, Jair Alexander, is better. And,
Right.
that's where, again, it's tough. But I'm going with the raw physical ability because at the end of the day, I want my best corner to be on the island with the most elite receivers in football. And I would not sure I would totally trust Okudah to be in that position all the time.
It's interesting you say that because the one word that I had written down multiple times that I heard was he just has more elite traits. And you're saying he doesn't have enough elite traits for me to have him in my top 2.
No, he has elite traits again, or I think it's going back into technique-wise, where you talk about, yes, his back pedal, his turn and run are really pretty. The way he breaks down and puts his foot in the ground and breaks on the ball, it's very efficient. But I don't think it's better than the guys we're going to talk about here in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, he might take less steps, but those other guys still have an ability to close on the ball faster than he does because they're noticeably more faster than he is, especially straight away. Again, I really like Okudah. I think Okudah, though, all right, is like he's Kyle Fuller, the Chicago Bears to me. Really good.
Yeah.
Really awesome corner. I mean, he's making $14 million a year. I mean, that's really good. But I'm not going to put him in the elite class of some of the other corners in football right now. You know, you
Before we move
look
on,
at this top 4 corners in football just right now. Okay,
okay.
Marlon Humphrey, Marshawn Lattimore, Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Gilmore. It's all low 4.4, high 4.3s, Paul. All of them.
So it's still a number one speed thing. Speed is the number one reason that you've got him
Speed
at
is
3.
the number one reason for me, for sure.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay. All right. So before we move on to the top 2, because I've spent a lot of time getting at the big question of why don't you have him 1 or 2? Let's finish on Okudah with the best thing you can say about him. His number one attribute is
that he has no really weakness to his game. Like, I would say that, or really probably his hips. He's got phenomenal hips. His ability to turn and run, or if guys do double moves, I mean, he just moves seamlessly.
Does that mean you would trust him inside or outside?
I wrote, one of the things I wrote down last is, I'm not so sure for 3 years from now, we're not going to start saying he's the best slot corner in football. You know,
and what a value that is right now. I mean, that's huge.
It is, right? No doubt. I mean, I wrote Chris Harris Jr. down as one of the guys down. I said, I think he might have a better chance of being him than maybe Kyle Fuller when all's said and done. You know, I like that aspect of him. I think he'll be able to play those techniques well. Again, like I said, he's got really good feet. He can plant his feet good into the ground. But what I worry about is when he has to cover a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. or Tyreek Hill on the outside. And then he has to so overcompensate for the fact that they're faster. He has to back off to a degree where when they want to throw comebacks or curl routes or out routes, he's going to give it away because he's going to be too scared, because he's going to go, I know they're going to run by me. And that's what scares me.
Let's line him up to your other major surprise you had for me a couple weeks ago. What if he's lined up on Jerry Jeudy? Jeudy against Okudah, who wins?
Well, that would be a good matchup for Okudah. That would be his kind of guy, because Jerry Jeudy is not necessarily overly physical, and then Jerry Jeudy is not fast enough to where he's going to threaten Okudah to run by him, to where I think that matchup would favor a guy like Okudah, yes.
Okay. If and when they guard each other next year, I'm racing into the building on Monday so we can watch and talk about it, all right?
Okay, good.
Okay. Okudah out of Ohio State, number 3, bringing us to your number 2 corner.
AJ Terrell from Clemson.
Okay.
You know, I know I've seen a lot of people, you know, some have them mock draft at the end of the first round. Some people, you know, have them in their top 30 players in the draft, all those things. Man, he was one of those guys like Clavon Chason, Paul. I just went away going, I don't understand it. Why is he not higher? All he does
Let's
is
get to
cover
the main point
rec-
about him then. Oh, no. Let's get to the main point. When you see him dinged, he got beat a couple big-time plays. Everybody saw it against LSU.
Right.
People want to kill him for that.
I look at it and go, they are such positives, and people are missing out. They're positives. He wasn't burned. He was all over the best receiver in college football. He was there.
And
you know,
and most of that game, he was aggressive. He wasn't timid. I know those are highlight kind of plays that you see as the headline of why he's lower than he ought to be. But for most of that game, he competed against some high-end talent, and I thought played very well.
He again, I put Clemson in high regard this way because they are like LSU. They play that you go cover that over there. That's their defense.
Right.
That's what they do. Hey, you just go get him, man him up, and now their defensive coordinator in Clemson, I'm blanking on his name.
Brent Venables.
Venables, right? Great, one of the best defensive coaches in football as far as creative scheme. I mean, they put a ton of pressure on AJ Terrell every game. They treat him like he's a Jalen Ramsey or Darrelle Revis. You play man, we'll play zone over here with the other 10 guys, and we'll just trust you that you'll lock them down. And Paul, back to your point there with the LSU game, listen, I understand, but I came away with more positive than negative with that. You know,
I did too.
We'll talk about, well, yeah, right? I mean, first off, some of the other corners we might have mentioned already, you know, they wouldn't even have been there to make a play on the ball when they were covering Jamar Chase. I would have said, no, Jamar Chase would have just high-stepped in the end zone and it would have been no problem. You know, this guy was there to have it. Now, let's talk about the 3 big plays. There's the big go route for a touchdown on the right sideline. You know, AJ Terrell's there. He's all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase pushes off of him. I mean, I think there's a
Yeah.
good chance that gets called pass interference in the NFL. He falls
And
to
the
the
first pick in
ground.
the draft is throwing him the ball right on the money as well. I mean,
Well,
he had some things
exactly.
against him in that game. Yeah.
Definitely. Then the other one we talk about, the inside slot fade down the right sideline. Again,
Mm-hmm.
Terrell was all over him.
It's a
It
great
was a
throw.
great throw, and it was just a
Mm-hmm.
receiver who made a great play. But
Right.
that gives me confidence to go, here's a really elite receiver, most likely the
Mm-hmm.
first receiver off the board next year. And
Yeah.
he's there with him in his face, step
Right.
by step, every play. And then even the
Yeah.
touchdown fade down the right and the back end of the end zone. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
I'm sorry to swear, but it's just a great throw.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was. It was
I
two
was
great
very
players, and they made
impressed.
some plays.
I was really impressed with how he competed and came back that entire game and stayed aggressive, never looked scared or never looked like he was down at all after those big plays. I want to read to you a couple of the terms I heard that everybody
Sure.
described him this way in such glowing terms. And I want to hear you describe how you think that'll play out in a positive way on Sundays. He's so rangy, he's so long. How are we going to see that
He
in a
is.
positive way?
Well, he's so rangy and long because if he is playing zone, you're scared because he has unbelievable ability to just sit there, right, Paul? Like he could sit there. Champ Bailey used to do this to me in Denver, where we'd be trying to high-low him and cover two, and he would just sit there. He wouldn't move at all, and I'd be like, "Damn, give me a tell which way you're leaning or anything." Terrell can do the same type of stuff where he's got these unbelievably long arms, but then his acceleration, he's 0 to 60 in 2 steps. So it gives him tremendous range there to where you feel like between the length of his arms and the way the kid moves, he really can close some windows in zone coverage, but let alone when he plays man. I mean, he's got a great jam at the line of scrimmage. He can dominate people there. He's got very good feet. He's got good enough feet and acceleration to play off if he wants and just evaluate it and then break on the ball. And then his ability to turn and run with elite athletes down the sideline and go routes is as good as anybody in the draft. Yeah. So, what other glowing terms did you have?
Well, this is from my own eyes right here. And to me, I correlate it with what you talk about with quarterbacks, what we've talked about a number of times. And it's similar to me in that when you talk about a guy throwing a ball hard, when he's got to get it 60 yards or throw it from one hash to the other, if he's got to wind up and make it look tough, okay, that's a problem. This guy, Terrell, I mean, he moves easily. He makes it look easy, whether he's breaking on a ball, whether he's sitting there in coverage, trying to bait somebody one way or another. If he's making up ground, he moves with the real ease in all the kind of corner movements that you want to see.
No doubt about it. And again, this is why I would say, like, when I saw Okudah in a few of these situations, I felt
Was
like,
it more labored?
he had to dig hard and really do it, everything. One of the third or fourth lines I wrote here, because here's my AJ Terrell page, okay? And I know you can't read it.
Don't try and read that cursive. Don't do it.
But one of the things so I wrote, here's the third thing I wrote. All right, I said, I like this kid. He's bump and run. Has a similar body to Henderson in Florida. Then I wrote really long on the field. Man, is he long. And then I wrote, to this point, has great closing speed, incredibly good acceleration, really good top end speed, and can really go straight away. And at the end of that, I wrote, it's easy and smooth for him. It's not like he's having to overexert himself and let his body go out of control to do it. And yes, that's what really good corners can do. So that's a good eye by you there, Paul.
And for what it's worth, and some people put stock into this, others don't. It matters to me, and I brought it up with Diggs from Alabama. A lot of times, if you have the trust of somebody who really knows him, like coaches down there, they will describe the kid as a great player. They would love to see one of the players as a high round pick. I mean, it's nothing but good for them. But then they may whisper, but, and then say some things about him. They love him down there. So for whatever that's worth, not only the way you described him physically and the way I did as well, he earned a lot of respect and admiration down in that building.
He competes. He's tough. You could tell he relishes the challenge, like you talked about in the LSU game. You could tell he relished it, and he wanted it. And a few of the plays he made early in the game, he did that on a weekly basis to me. He'll hit you.
Yeah.
He comes up and
Right.
throws his body around. I mean, and to the biggest point to what you're saying, Paul, nothing more than the film showed that they
Hmm.
liked the kid and had the confidence in the kid because of
Right.
what they did around him. Like I said, it didn't matter who it was. He covered the best receiver, and then they
Right.
did what they wanted with the other 10 guys. And that shows you. With
Hmm.
a guy like, Dabo Sweeney and Venables, like you
Yeah.
mentioned,
Yeah.
they don't just like give the keys to the Ferrari to anybody to do that type of stuff. And those are
Right.
special coaches down there.
And when it comes to athletics and competition on a big stage, I mean, any sport, I mean, let's compare it to baseball. If someone in a big game with the bases loaded strikes out twice on national TV, I want to see how he does that third at bat. And that's kind of what he did in that national championship game. He came back and competed after a couple pretty big failures. Now, you described him pretty well that it wasn't all him, but everybody saw the man he was
Yeah.
covering made big plays. And he came back and got after people's asses the rest of the game. And I think that speaks a lot for him. So that
Yeah.
brings us all the way up to number 1 to review. Diggs was 5th, Fulton out of LSU 4th, Okudah, not 1 or 2. You had him at number 3. AJ Terrell from Clemson at number 2. Not much suspense there at number 1. CJ Henderson, why is he at the top of your list?
Well, I just think he's the most physically gifted of the group. I mean, when you just talk about, speed to close on the ball, great feet that are just smooth again. I'm big of the ability to be in the back pedal, put the foot in the ground, or, hey, the guy looks like he's running a go route on me. I'm turning and running. Oh, wait, he's putting the brakes on to run the comeback. And he could put his foot in the ground and be effortless that way and then re-accelerate to make a play on the ball, let alone, again, another guy like Terrell, it's in your face. He's got incredibly long arms, can jam you at the line of scrimmage, really just physically has it all. The hips are greasy smooth too, just like the other two guys we talked about before this. I just look at him really and just go, man, there's no weakness to this guy's football game. I mean, he has
I got
a
to
chance
stop you
to be
right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stop
Okay,
you
there
right
is
there.
one weakness. Go ahead.
The giant, but he's not a great tackler. He showed to be a pretty poor tackler. Why doesn't that bother you more?
Well, because how many times have we talked about Deion Sanders tackling since he retired?
Yeah,
That's
but
why.
and here's another
but.
I know Deion was great. I used to work next to him. He was awesome. However, the game has changed now. I mean, think about how many quick screens there are right in front of a corner where he has to tackle now. 20 years ago, they didn't do it as much. Think about all the short crossers that come right in front of those corners who are playing off. You got to be, I mean, maybe it's not your strength, but it can't be such a glaring weakness now either.
No, listen, it's the number one thing that bothered me. And it's really where I almost made him number 2 because of that. Because I just went, man, for all the greatness you see on film, okay, yes, you're right. There is some below average tackling and some moments where I would have gone, hey, why doesn't he hustle in a little harder right here? Okay, that gave me a little trepidation. I'm not going to lie. Now, again, this is where, in-person meetings and things like that to know the guy are going to become very important. And I haven't heard much about him as a person off the field. Like I had heard the things you said about AJ Terrell. Right.
Right.
I knew Okudah was really widely heralded and loved at his school.
Yes.
I don't know.
Much,
yeah. I didn't know about CJ Henderson, but the film is special.
Yeah. Right. I didn't hear any red flags either on him. No one was jumping up and down raving, but I don't have anything negative to say about things I've learned about him. But physically, I mean, everything up until the tackling. Once you get to the tackling, and that's the separator for a lot of people between Okudah and Henderson, but everything else
Okudah's
physically,
definitely a better tackler.
Okay.
Yeah.
But physically, cover skills, all the upside and potential. I mean, Henderson was at least right there, as Peter King pointed out yesterday, or to maybe even close to half of the buildings, even better than the other guys.
Well, yeah. So okay, I didn't know that, but that makes sense. I mean,
Peter said in his article, I think, I don't know if he said 40 or 50, but it was a number close to half of the buildings right now have Henderson as their top guy.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. And again, this is a guy that, again, ran 4.39 at the combine. But when you look at the film, you know, you could sit there and go, man, what did this guy run? 4.32, 4.3 flat?
Yeah.
Like, he can fly. You know, and I usually write little guesses down before I actually look at their time. And I wrote, looks like he's a 4.35 guy. And then, you know, I look at the sheet and go, oh, okay, he ran 4.39, whatever. But yeah, I just, the physical ability jumps off the screen to me. All right, that is the big thing. And I see Pete Dimolena is saying, yeah, I see the quote now. He's saying Peter King said 40% of the teams had him higher. You know, I know, because again, this is the great conversation with this position is, yes, Okudah is a little more well-schooled and technically sound, but are you going to value that more over the guy who's got just the more physical, raw ability? That's where it's really tough, and that's where I struggled with the ranking. I think if I favored, you know, technique and being sound, I would have gave Okudah probably the number one. But I don't. I value a little bit more of the raw tools and think that some of the things Okudah is better at can be taught to these guys in the NFL. And that's ultimately where I – yeah.
Do you think Henderson can be taught to be a good tackler, or is that just something that, like anticipation for a quarterback, if you don't have it, you might not learn it?
I think he can I think he'll be better at it. You know, I always look at those guys too, again, and just look at, you get in an NFL room, as you know, with a bunch of other alpha males, and the coaches aren't shy about calling you out when you miss tackles and stuff like that.
Right.
And then players in the locker room start not liking you because they're going, man, you're turning down tackles and costing us money and wins over here. You know, that shit will get real in a hurry. So I find more times than not, the environment itself fixes those issues. Unless the guy is such a, you know, jerk or problem child or doesn't love football off the field to where you feel like you can't correct it. And if that's the case, then CJ Henderson, then, you know, CJ Henderson, don't draft him number one. But
let's run through.
He doesn't have to be a great tackler, Paul. He's just got to be a good tackler.
Right, which he wasn't most of the time. So I want to run through a couple quick scenarios with him. So Detroit seems like they would like a corner at 3. Would you be comfortable taking Henderson that high?
No, I would not.
Okay.
I would not. I think that's why you're hearing. I think that's why you're hearing Detroit rumors about them looking to trade out. You know, I've heard that over the last 48 hours because
why is he not good? I mean, why is he not good enough to go that high?
Well, I think some of the things you talked about, and
the tackling,
and then a little bit of the rawness of his game to where, hey, we're going to have to teach him a few things to get him to be even a little bit better player for the way we want him to be in the NFL. Because, again, when they draft this guy, and especially like Matt Patricia, he's going to want to do exactly what he did with Stephon Gilmore, which was go cover that guy all game long.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, yes, he just needs to improve on some of those little nuances there for me to be able to say he's a top 5 pick. Top 5 pick at corner position, man, you better be pretty special.
You better be really good.
You'd be really good, yeah.
Okay, how about same thought, but we back off it a little bit. Jacksonville, who knows what they'll do? You look at their roster, they could use the best corner in this draft. So how about at 9 to the Jags? Is that too high?
No, I'm okay with that. You know, I'm really okay with once you start getting to like 7 with the Panthers. Okay. You know, 7 with the Panthers, and then on down. If one of those teams wanted to draft one of these cornerbacks, I think that's where it should be. That's where it should start. You know, I look at like, yes, Henderson and Terrell as being guys that I would draft somewhere between 5 and 12 or 5 and 15. And then I would probably say Okudah, I would go, you know, 10 to 18, somewhere in that range. But, you know, these are elite island type corners.
Do you think Okudah would be a safe steal of a pick at 15, 16, 17? Like, even though you don't like him at 1, if you really like the coordinator at 16 or 17 who got him, would you be like, that is an awesome, great pick for that team?
No doubt. If you're a defense that maybe doesn't value man-to-man quite as much, you value the variety of your coverages, playing zone, you know, if they're a defense, too, that looks at it like, you know, like Vic Fangio, and Vic Fangio's looking at him, right, who plays some man-to-man, but really wants to play a majority of cover 4 and some other zones, and then maybe be able to move him into nickel and do things like that, hey, I could certainly see Okudah being a great fit for that there. Yeah, because they don't need the guy that's going to be that lockdown man-to-man type corner on the outside, because Fangio is going to play a good amount of zone when he plays defense.
Yeah, scheme specific. You hear that all the time. It's got to be the right fit for the kind of talent.
And that's why I say the guys are number 1 and 2 are 1 and 2, because there is no such thing as scheme specific. It doesn't matter. They're going to be able to play in any scheme because of their great physical ability. So if your team plays man-to-man every play and they want you to be the outside corner, those two, Terrell and Henderson, to me, are going to be okay. Okudah, I would go, ooh, you play man-to-man every play? I mean, yes, he'll be good. I don't know how great he'll be. That's the only thing I question there. That's the difference between the three.
Yeah. Well, every team is chasing the Kansas City Chiefs, whether in the AFC or NFC. Let's put one more example on this. Let's say the team that gets CJ Henderson plays the Chiefs week 1 of the season, whenever week 1 of this season is he better suited to be stuck on Travis Kelce or on Tyreek Hill? What kind of corner is he?
Tyreek Hill.
Really?
I do. Yes. I think he is that type of, that's why I'm talking about him being a top 10 pick, because I think, I never saw anybody give Tyreek Hill problems like I've seen Jalen Ramsey give him problems, because Jalen Ramsey could put his long damn arms on him and jam him just to slow some of his quickness off the line of scrimmage. And then Ramsey had the hips and the speed to turn and run with him after that fact. And I think guys like Henderson and Terrell can do that and play that type of game, even with one of the fastest guys in the history of the sport, like a Tyreek Hill.
Okay, corners. There you go. Number 1, CJ Henderson. 2, AJ Terrell. Number 3, the surprise, Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State. 4, Fulton, LSU. And 5, Diggs, Alabama.
I really get to, I know I get done, because, this is why I hate social media and stuff, because, when I start to make these rankings, I just go, oh, I mean, these are my rankings. People are going to think I'm trying to be contrarian or trying to be a headline guy because I'm putting
Which
Jeff
is 100%
third.
not true. Yeah.
I hate that shit. There's nothing that bothers me more. I mean, everybody has CD Lamb as the number 1 receiver. I got him number 1. I didn't go contrarian. Joe Burrow, he's number 1.
Right.
But if you don't agree with the consensus on a few players, oh my gosh! And I'm not going to let that pressure me. I've fallen into that trap before.
But think of all the clicks we'll get on social media. Don't you get some kind of credit for that?
Well, no, because I've even had players Kurt Warner took shots at me last year with my top 10 quarterbacks and said, well, it'll get you some clicks. Well, shit, no, my top 10 quarterbacks ended up being really right. Brady was not, he was 9. Drew Brees was 10, if not lower. So, it wasn't for clicks. It's what I thought. I don't give a damn about clicks. I know
a couple things. I mean,
I just got to talk.
Kurt's still mad at me because I got the scholarship to Iowa in 1989, and he did. He's legitimately still mad. We're buddies, but I think he's still, as we get close to 50, still a little angry with me on that. And number 2, I mean, you may be right or wrong on all this. It's got nothing to do with clicks for you. I've worked with people who are about that, and you are not one of them. I know you don't care about that, as we joke about it. So
I want to be right. I mean, I want to be the guy that's, I know. I want to be the guy that's sitting here a year from now going, see, I told you AJ Terrell was a freaking baller. I mean, that's what will really make me feel good.
I know you would be happy for any one of these kids that turned out to be good, no matter where you had ranked them. And, of course, you want to be right as well. Okay. So that's corners. Moving into safeties now. Hey, the corner thing was fun, and that was a nice little curveball you threw us with Okudah at number 3. But this safety group, I mean, it kind of has a little bit of everything, Chris. You got small school kids lined up against the Alabama and LSU kind of players. We've got NFL legacy. We've got former walk-ons. There's a lot to get into here that I think is really fun. Let's start with the fact, though, and we'll do the top 5. And once again, I don't know who your top 5 is. I know that you don't consider Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. You think he's an outside linebacker. You don't view him as a safety. A lot of people do, so he's not on this list for you. But I do want to start with why you see him more as an outside linebacker versus a safety.
Well, listen, he's going to do some safety type things, right? Where he's in the box like a strong safety. He might be over the nickel back, in certain situations and be able to cover a nickel or jam him and play zone coverage and then come up and zone and run support, whatever it may be. But,
Hmm.
when you watch him on film, and I haven't done my deep dive on him yet, but just I've seen enough Clemson to go, why I wouldn't want him to be 25 yards back away from the ball. I want him up close by the line of scrimmage and being a ball hawk to where, yes, he does do some strong safety type things, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to do more linebacker type things than anything. But that's why he's
Hmm.
special. So, yes, I'm not really putting him in the safety group. One, because I think he's a little bit of his own animal to a degree. And then
Hmm.
two, I think ultimately, yes, he's going to be on the field more in the linebacker spot than I feel as in the safety spot.
Okay. And I know you're hitting outside linebackers next week. You'll get into much more of a deep dive on him and what you like about him
Definitely.
as a
But
linebacker. But
that's a good
I do,
question, Paul. And I mean, he
but
does play free safety sometimes, and you see him 30
yeah,
yards deep,
yeah,
and then you
right.
see him covering a nickel corner or a nickel receiver,
Yeah,
a slot receiver at nickel, and running down the field with
yeah.
him. He's
It's an
special.
incredible skill set. It's an incredible skill set.
Incredible.
And there are times you watch him on film where, and I wrote down, he looks a little more comfortable in space than he does up at the line of scrimmage. Now, I haven't
Definitely.
watched enough. I've not watched enough to say that you're wrong in thinking he's a better outside linebacker than safety, but I can see why, in addition to the measurables, why the tape would sometimes suggest maybe safety is a better home. And you'll
Yeah,
address
well,
that more next week.
I get you. Yeah, and those are all good questions. And maybe I'll get done next week, and I'm going to go. Paul Burmeister said I should have made him a safety, and then I should have made him a safety. After
Yeah.
watching him, but you're right too. He is. He's about space. He's about running you down sideline to sideline, doing things
Hmm.
like that. So I don't want him too much at free safety because that'll take him away out of a lot of those plays.
Right.
And he's
Right.
not the physical guy like you're saying either, where he's going to just take on fullbacks in the hole and smash them or set the edge in the running game that way. No, that's not the type of
Hmm.
guy he is. But he's a special
Right.
athlete, and he's like I'll take like Miles Jack, from the Jacksonville Jaguars that way, where in their
Yeah.
prime, the Jaguars could play base defense, and then even when the other team had three receivers out, and they put Miles Jack as the weak side linebacker out there as like the nickel back, and go, okay,
Right.
yeah, we're big, but our linebacker's as fast as your slot guy, so we're going to let him cover him. And I think you'll
Right.
see Isaiah Simmons do a lot of that type of stuff.
All these guys that are special, I mean, it makes for fun conversation right now. Where would he fit the best? I mean, everyone who has this rare of a skill set. I mean, look at Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, sometimes it looks like he's playing linebacker. Sometimes it looks like he's playing safety. Other times at corner. You can watch the
Yes,
Titans and look and ask yourself, is Logan Ryan a safety or is he a corner? Which one is he? I mean, all these guys that are that special, he's going to end up playing the whole thing anyway. All it is just fun conversation right now. And again,
no
Isaiah
doubt.
Simmons has crept into that safety talk. That's why we start with him, even though you don't have him as one of your safeties. So, top five safeties for you, Chris. Who you got here first at number five?
Well, at number five, I'm going to go with Ashtyn Davis from California. All right off the bat. Now,
Fun
like,
story.
yeah, unreal
Yeah.
story, really fun watch on film. You know, has no weakness to his football game. Okay, that's where I really like the player. All right, there's nothing that I watched where I said, "Ooh, he needs to improve on that." You know, I, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I looked at one area of his game and said, "Oh my gosh, he's so amazing at this." But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the Swiss Army knife tool set he has that is intriguing to me. To where
Yeah.
he's got very good hips in coverage. He's very good to read and react as a free safety and get down involved in the run game. Now, listen, he's not like I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's Ronnie Lott and going to rip your head off. You know, he's a good tackler. I'm not going to say he's a
Tackles well.
great
Yeah.
tackler, but he
Yeah.
tackles well. He gets you to the ground. That's the reason they're called a safety because they're saving 80-yard
Yeah.
touchdowns, and ultimately you just want him to go to the ground.
I would say even better than his tackling is fine, but his best tackling skill, I think, is the kind of range he has in the running game. Whereas he may be
Definitely.
lined up in one spot, and then when the tackle is made, you're like, how did he get all the way over there? And like that looked like his best tackling skill to me.
I'm with you. Yes, he's a pursuit tackler, right? Instead of like
Right.
a smash your head tackler, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, and that's where I got into like the read and recognition stuff. His ability to diagnose a play and you know run across the field like you're saying, or you
Hmm.
know run sideline to sideline and track ball carriers down. I thought was very
Is
special
really
that
good.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, let
I
alone
want to
having the
run
good
through.
hips and go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
the hips at safety, huge.
Yeah,
Because his story is so unique, Chris, I want to make sure we hit each one of these things. I want to read something about him that makes him kind of different than a lot of these other candidates. And just you tell me how much you think it matters and if it matters to you at all. So let's start at the top. He's a former walk-on.
sure.
Former walk-on.
Yeah. Well, you know, again, a lot of things can be, you know, a factor in that. You know, sometimes it's you played at a low level high school and people just don't
Yeah,
see, they go, oh man, that high school football sucks. He doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe he was a late starter to football all to begin with. You know, so I don't
right.
even know what the history there is. But all I know right now is the guy's 6'1",
He's
202, and he can run
you
and he
play.
can tackle
Yeah.
and he can play ball. Right.
How about Pac-12 110 hurdle champion? What's that mean?
Ooh, that tells you what kind of athlete he is. You know, that speaks
Right?
to what you're saying, his ability to run people down sideline to
Mm-hmm.
sideline. I mean, yes, you see some cornerback traits from this kid with the way he can turn and run and flip
Yeah.
his hips and do
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah. How about two-time special teams player of the year there at Cal?
Well, that just tells you that he's just gritty and tough. You know, that's where that's you know that's the reason. Hey, listen, there was a few guys where I went, oh, who do I make number 5? And it's
Yeah.
little things like you're talking about right now that aren't little, that tell you about the person that gave me
Right.
the edge to go, man, all the things he can do for your football team. And we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
starting safeties play more and more on special teams and doing
Oh
that
yeah.
to where,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge value as far as evaluating for the draft.
And I like this one too. I don't know if it matters to you, but his college position coach, Gerald Alexander, if you remember that name, he's now with the Dolphins, I think, on the staff there. He went there recently. But Gerald played in the NFL, played cornerback in the NFL for 5 or 6 years. And to have that kind of tutelage while you're in school from somebody who just got out of the league and played the same, actually played safety. I'm sorry, he played safety. I think that matters a whole lot.
Definitely. I mean, it just, you know, it tells you that there's a guy who's played at a high level, probably taught him
Hmm.
some nuances about the position and how it's
Yeah,
supposed to be played, what to look for, which makes the kid's instincts even better to where
should.
now he can let his physical ability just flow out because he's not thinking as much. But yes,
Right.
California is very well coached too on the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot to like with what they do. And the
Hmm.
different ways in which they use him, you know, that's the value of a guy like Ashtyn Davis.
And we've heaped a lot of praise on him here, and I agree with you. There is a lot to like. How about the biggest concern? Your number one concern about him, why you have him at 5 as opposed to maybe 4 or 3?
You know, maybe lacks a little of the physicality that I mentioned. I think maybe a little physical, or yeah, two things, right? Because I wrote down, I go, man, a lot of things remind me of a Harrison Smith. But the reason
Mm,
I can't say he's Harrison Smith is because he lacks a little of the physicality, Harrison Smith. And you saw Harrison Smith at Notre Dame, and you've seen him in the NFL. I mean, he brings
mm-hmm.
it and
Yeah.
brings it with reckless abandon. And I'm big on that at safety. I mean, when you throw your body around it, sometimes, you know, when you go into a hole and there's a good running back, you got to just give your body up and get the guy down. And sometimes you got to get yourself involved in car crash collisions. I saw some
Mm-hmm.
trepidation every now and then. And then I think the other thing that just got me a little bit to make him 5 was when it came to open field tackling and he had to break down and make a tackle and a guy's putting a move on him, his ability to kind of accelerate or explode to make that tackle, I thought was a little underwhelming. And I think those were
Okay.
probably the two things that I jumped out to me as far as being just a little bit of a weakness.
Okay. Ashton Davis Cal is your 5th safety. Who do you have at number 4?
Number 4 is Kyle Duggar. Am I saying that right? I just want to make sure I got Kyle Duggar in there the right way.
I think you are. I think you are. And can you pronounce where he played?
No, Lenore Ryan.
Lenore Ryan. There you go, man. You got it. Yeah. You're
Man,
on
look
it.
at me, man, my
Well
New
done.
Jersey and Texas education coming through in the clutch. Um, But man, I mean, specimen. I mean, that's where you
right?
have to start with this kid. Yes. I mean, he's built and looks almost like a, Sean Taylor out on the football field. Now, I'm not going to say he's Sean Taylor because that's a different animal altogether, but,
Right.
big, strong, can really accelerate to the football and run people down in space. Very natural in pass coverage, Paul. That's the thing for a
Yeah.
guy that's that size. I mean, I was really impressed with his ability to play the ball, his ability to turn the hips here and there. I even watched some Senior Bowl film. I mean, that was
Yeah.
impressive. Yes.
Fit in there pretty well. He fit in there pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I want to
mean,
read some of the measurables too. You can
good.
keep going for sure, but it's not a big name people know about because he played Division II, but he's 6'1", 217. For safety, that's big. Just got into the 4.4s, ran a 4.49 at the combine, so that's very good for a safety of his size. But watching him, I was picturing you watching him because these other guys we talked about today, they play Clemson, they play at LSU. You can watch him play Alabama. You can watch him play against kids who are going to be playing in the NFL for the next few years. He played against Mars Hill and Limestone. I mean, those are the teams on the schedule of Lenoir-Rhyne. So tell me about how you watch the film of him and what you need to see from him when he's clearly the best athlete on the field and he's not going up against NFL caliber talent.
No, it's tough. This is where, yeah, you hope that, your trained eye and your ability to project the guy, to the next
Yeah.
level. You hope you have some experience there because you're right. Hey, Paul, there's some plays where you go, I mean, other than the 5 offensive linemen, I think the guy at safety is the biggest guy on the field. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right at times.
Right.
And that's why I said I went back and watched the Senior Bowl because I wanted to go watch some of the practice film and things like that to go, all right, let me just see what he looks like against, some better competition. And
Right.
that was what sold me on what I saw at
Pleasantly
his school.
surprised.
Yes, I just looked at him. Oh,
Yeah.
this kid belongs. He's
Right.
he can cover anybody. Big time tight ends. Tackle running backs in space. When you watch the drill work he did, it's very impressive. I mean, there's just not a lot of negatives. Now, yeah, the big thing is you don't know what it's like when he has to tackle a Alabama running back or an LSU running
Sure.
back or a South Carolina running back week after week after week. But
Yeah.
I know I had these questions about Darius Leonard when he came out of South Carolina State or whatever it was, and damn,
Yeah.
he proved he was capable too. So I think I just saw enough ability, and really, one of the things I wrote, my big thing is I went, man, size, ball skills, straight line speed, good hips and coverage, solid tackler. I wrote, not great. Like like we talked about with Ashtyn Davis. He'll run you down and tackle you. His ability to break down and make tackles in open space, that needs a little work. But I wrote the biggest question is just the competition. That was the only thing I had. And that's why I
Would
went to
that
the
scare
Senior Bowl
you?
film.
Would it scare you out of taking him in the top half of the second round?
I don't think so. It scares me to where, I really think he's a first round specimen in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. Yeah. I mean,
You think somebody will do it?
no,
You think it'll happen?
I think to what you're asking is where he played in the competition will scare most teams out of the first round competition to where, like a Darius Leonard, I think he gets picked in the top 15 picks of the second round, something like that. I think, that's about where he is.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Terrell Edmonds, who was drafted in the first round a few years ago by the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Virginia Tech. I think that's the type of player he is ultimately. Yeah, yeah.
It's a great compliment. Okay, so you have Duggar at 4 out of Lenoir-Rhyne. Ashtyn Davis from Cal was at 5. We are at 3. Who's in that spot for you?
Okay, I'm going to go to Julian Blackmon out of Utah. Okay, and I don't know, this might catch some people by surprise. I'm not going to say I sit here and read a whole lot of mock drafts and top 50s and things like that, but I mean, I read sports news, so I see them occasionally. It's not a name that I've seen a lot, but this was one of my favorite watches in the draft so far because he was surprising to me because I have heard no buzz about the guy.
What
Um,
surprised you the most there, Chris, with him?
well, okay, so first off, he's an ex corner. He moves like a corner. So at the safety
Yes.
position, when you talk about, whoa, these are like top level coverage skills for a safety.
Hmm.
Great range as a middle fielder as far as a free safety is concerned, sideline to sideline. If the quarterback tips his eyes to go one way, man, he can flip his hips and get over there in a hurry. Can cover man to man. And then a guy that for 187 pounds, I loved his, reckless abandon to come up and challenge the run. I really did. I mean, he is fearless that way. So I think between that, the ball skills, and playing with much better play strength than 187 pounds would tell you, that to me made him a special prospect in my eyes and kind of a can't miss, true to form free safety in the NFL, Paul.
Injury late in the season, knee injury. I mean, how much? We're coming up now, almost 4 months ago. How much do you think that'll knock him in the draft?
Well, I know that's why he didn't get to run the 40, and I
Right,
don't know where that is as far as the status of that knee right now. I
right.
don't know if you have any information there. I don't have any other
Well, I
information
mean,
on that.
we don't. I mean, I've got a great source for the injury stuff in a normal year, but I mean, teams don't know either. Teams don't know exactly where that is right now because they can't get out and do it.
Yeah,
So,
so this is where this weird year can hurt a player like this. But regardless, free safety in the NFL, and you talked about it a little at the start of this, like Tyrann Mathieu. What is a free
mhm,
safety anymore? Yeah, some are traditional
right?
free safeties where they're deep middle. Some are down,
Yeah.
playing nickel on certain downs and playing like the slot corner. Some are
Hmm.
covering tight ends man to man. There's a lot of things that are asked at the safety position. But I thought overall, the skill set he brought to the table, he could do a little bit of everything, played a lot more
Hmm.
physical than I was expecting, great
Yep.
read and recognition, and just incredible, I thought, in the pass coverage or just the pass game itself. I said he was like, to me, Buda Baker, maybe Jimmy Ward from the 49ers, that type of guy where, yeah, he's the
Hmm.
nickel, he's the free safety, he's back and
Yeah.
forth. And you can trust him down in the box to be aggressive and throw his body around to stop the run game.
You think about the number of things a safety has to do right now, and I mean, you could make an argument for really a lot of positions, but I don't think there's a position that requires more versatility on defense. I mean, think about it. Just off the top of my head, you got to play center field. You got to play half. You got to play quarters, which is a lot more nuance than playing half. Drop in the box to play the run. Drop in the box to blitz. Cover a tight end from off. Cover a tight end from tight. Cover a back out of the backfield. Cover the third receiver. I mean, it's amazing what they're expected to do right now.
It is. It's a vast skill set, and I think it's a reason why again too, you're seeing teams put a little more premium on the safety position because of that
Hmm.
versatility, and finding specific roles for certain safeties.
Yeah,
Oh hey, we want to get in nickel, but we want to get in big nickel because we think they might be
big
able to run
nickel.
the ball and they got
Yeah,
big receivers on the field. Oh, okay, hey,
three
three
safeties.
safeties,
Yeah.
we need you to get down there, right? Three safeties. Or, again, think about a guy like Daniel Sorensen with the Kansas City Chiefs. They bring him in a dime and kind of use him as like a dime linebacker. So, yeah, he's great in coverage, but if a team runs a draw or a screen, he can make a tackle. So you really got to try to find guys that, can do some different things. And I'm really, what I'm looking for here in the top five is guys that are like that for the most part.
Right.
Who can add some versatility to their defense. And this guy especially, I think, has a few roles. I mean, if you had to put him at corner in a certain game, he would be capable of doing it the way he moves and the way he can run.
And you brought it up right away, which I have written down first about him, Chris. I think it's the best thing about him is that he played corner. He started at corner in the Pac-12, so he would look comfortable there because he did it almost as much as he's played safety. So that's a
Yeah,
huge plus on his side.
huge plus. Huge
Yeah.
plus. It
Okay.
is. He is. He's an intriguing watch. I really enjoyed him, and he would be one of my guys right now where I'd put in like the Robin Hood category, where I'd want to go. We got to steal from the rich and give to the poor a little bit, and we're not hearing
Yeah.
his name thrown around. And I would just be shocked unless the injury is so bad that teams are scared of his knee to a degree that I am not aware of right now. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I would have a hard time thinking this guy doesn't go off the board somewhere in the top 45 picks of the draft.
That was my question. It sounds like you're describing a top half of the second round kind of pick, and
I think so.
with it,
yes,
with his versatility at that spot, makes sense. All right, Blackmon, Utah was third. Duggar from Lenore-Rhine at 4, and Davis from Cal at 5. Who was your number 2 safety?
My number 2 safety is going to be Xavier McKinney from Alabama. And again, man, where do I start with this guy?
You're making news with your rankings here. I mean, everybody's number 1 guy. You don't have a number 1, by the way.
Well, yes, yeah, I know. Well, and
we
again,
like that.
That's cool. Whatever. He's up there for me.
Yeah.
And again, it's about the role you want the guy to play. Now, this guy, he ran what did he run? A 4.6 at the combine? 4.63. He doesn't play.
He was in 4.6s, yeah. Looks faster, doesn't he?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely faster than that. Okay. So again, other things about his game where that to me just, on the field, he is much faster than that. And, the other thing too I want to bring up is, when you see 36 inches vertical, that usually tells you the guy's a little bit more explosive than maybe the 40s giving it credit for too. But the big thing is, Paul, the acceleration and the 0 to 60 was special. And that to me is more about where this guy's game's going to be than running 50 and 60 yards down the field, covering great receivers or doing anything like that. He's got great, again, when we talk about what is he? To me, he's a free safety nickel type, right? We talked about Duggar from Lenore-Rhine, where I go, no, that's like a free safety, strong safety type. This guy is more of a free safety nickel cover guy, maybe more like a Tyrann Mathieu in that way, right? To where, he's great in the back end. He's got unbelievable range. Man, when he sees the quarterback commit, he can really turn his hips and cover some ground, right? You saw that, I'm sure. He's aggressive as hell coming down in the run game. His ability to read and react, and what we would say in the NFL, shoot his gun, right? Like once you read and react, go. Don't be like, wait, am I seeing this the right way? Hold on, let me take one more look. No, go, shoot your gun. Let's go. He's fearless. He's fearless. He thinks he's 6'4", 260, but somebody needs to tell him that he's only 6 foot, 200 pounds.
And you like that reckless abandon at safety. It's been your lead compliment for a lot of these guys. So if he has that, it's one of the reasons why you like him. I have written down here my biggest compliments for him, Chris, and let me know if you agree. Interchangeable at safety. Look just as comfortable playing center field as he did down in the box as a true strong safety.
Definitely.
And to be interchangeable is a massive compliment for what they want these guys to do.
No doubt. I only have one issue with that, and that's where I said I think he's a little more free safety than nickel. The more I watch, now listen, the aggressive nature, the will, the want to, it's all there. Like to what you're saying, he was very comfortable in the box. I would just worry about having him in the box too consistently. When guards got up on him or linemen got on him or running backs were running through the hole untouched, he missed tackles. And it wasn't because he missed them. It was because he got run over or the running backs just broke the tackles in general because of lack of size. So, yes, he's willing to do it, but I just don't know. Again, I worry about it a little bit if you made him a strong safety, too many snaps per game is what I'm saying.
Did you watch the LSU game? Because it looked to me like they basically played him at will, linebacker, a lot of that game.
Well, it's like, more times than not, it is. It's like he was, he's like a nickel back. And this is where I get into this again, where, like a Rondé Barber almost. But, this guy might be more aggressive in throwing his body around. But, yes, he was playing that spot because, it's a bubble screen. He'll fly up there and make the tackle. It's Edwards-Helaire bouncing it outside. He'll fly up there and make a tackle. And then I think what really made him special in my eyes, Paul, was the fact that, he was incredible at covering the slot receivers. Incredible. like I thought his ability and twitchiness and explosion in and out of breaks was really,
Hmm.
really special. So that's
Think
why I
about
see
the
him as that
options
free
now.
safety nickel guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about the options you have on third down. If not only is he not a liability on third down and 8, they bring in some kind of slot package and have 3 receivers out there in a bubble, and he can cover one of them. I mean, that is gold for a safety.
It is gold. And, the guy I wrote down that kind of he reminded me of is LaMarcus Joyner. LaMarcus Joyner, right, from the Rams, signed to
Yeah,
the Raiders
yeah,
last year and got big money. Yeah,
yeah.
he's that type of guy. You're right. You're going to feel good like, hey, we're in our pass defense, but if a team runs, okay, we know we got a guy out there that he's fearless. He'll come up and make the tackle if he's got to. And,
Right.
then again, if you wanted to get into base defense and put him back at free safety, he's got
You can do
incredible
that.
ball skills, and he's very fast to read and recognize, again, to be an extra body in the run game from the free safety spot. So that's where I
Hmm.
really like him. That's where he kind of reminds me of LaMarcus Joyner, but really fun watch, explosive. And yeah, I love guys that are, as you can tell, fearless, especially at the safety position. You
Yep.
got to be somewhat crazy to play that position in the NFL.
Absolutely. Let's play a what if game. Now, just thinking about what you did with the corners, you had Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State as your third best corner. I think we said you'd like him, 15 to 20 is a great spot for him. You've got McKinney now out of Alabama at 2 instead of 1. Let's say there's a team, 15 to 20, that has said before the draft, all right, here's what we're going to do. We have no glaring need at safety or corner, but we want the biggest difference maker available at defensive back at that spot. That's who we're taking. Would you rather have Okudah? Or would you rather have McKinney?
Ooh, I would probably go with Okudah. Yes, I would go with Okudah. Yeah, just because, again, I think Okudah has the possibility to be that island corner we've talked about. But if that failed, I think he could be one of the best slot corners in football, too. So I guess that gives me a little leeway there. And that's no knock on
Yes.
Xavier McKinney. I really like
No,
him.
it's
I guess I'm just saying I
clearly,
value
clearly you do.
the
Yeah.
corner a little more. Yeah.
No, I think it's good. It also hammers home the point, even though people are going to be surprised that you have Okudah at number 3 in your corner list. Some are going to say, oh, why does Chris hate Okudah? Clearly, you don't hate him. If you'd rather have
No.
him than your second best safety, who you just praised for the last few minutes, I mean, that brings up the point. Your man crush isn't giant on Jeffrey Okudah, but it's enough to where you would take him over your second safety. So well
Yes.
done.
Yes.
Bringing us
Thank you.
to your number. Yes, thank you. To your number 1 safety. Who do you like?
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Love
Paul, I
that
don't know
player.
what yeah, I mean, when I turned on the film, I just went, man, this is an
When you
elite NFL free safety right away. It was like the third
right,
play,
yeah.
and I just went, why haven't I heard more about this kid?
When you turned it on, what did you expect to have him? Like 4th, 5th?
Yes, right. I thought he was going to be like, hey, the kid's got good instincts. He knows how to play the
Right.
game,
Nice
but
player,
there's not
tough
going to be any
kid.
great physical
Right.
ability that's going to jump off the screen to you. And it was
The
almost, I
traits
mean,
that you
not
love.
the opposite, but the physical
Yeah.
ability, like to you, right? It jumped off the screen right away.
Oh my, yeah, yeah. And playmaking all over the field at critical times. I mean, he had 7 picks this past year. Hey, everybody has some garbage picks every now and then, but he had picks that mattered in big wins at important times.
Out of the free safeties or safeties, I don't think anybody plays the ball better down the field than Antoine Winfield. I mean, he's like his dad that way. It's like an elite corner, so he's special there. And, he is a guy he's talented enough and explosive enough to where you could trust him at, a handful of snaps every game to play man-to-man on good receivers because he has that type of explosive ability and hips to do it. But,
Mm-hmm.
so that jumps off the screen. You're right about the ball skills and all that. Then you talk about the range, and then, just the range as a free safety, I mean, with his ability to go sideline to sideline. But, man, I mean, the guy's got a rocket up his butt. You know me,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite phrases. It's 4.45,
Yeah.
but
Right.
he plays and
Legit.
looks faster than that on the field. When
Yeah.
I first watched him, I said, damn, I'm watching Earl Thomas at Texas right now. That's really what I thought of when I first saw it. I
Wow.
saw,
Wow.
a missile all over the
Yeah.
field, and a lot like we just talked about with Xavier McKinney, where I said, yeah, he's a free safety, but his ability to read and recognize the play and come downhill and be an extra body in the run game, there's great value for that. And like McKinney, he gets down there in a hurry and can't wait to get in the mix. And, I thought was a more physical, better tackler than McKinney, which is one of the reasons I made him one. He's got a little bit more of a physical, dense, muscular build than McKinney, which I like at the safety position.
He does. And it was a good lesson for me too, Chris, because before you get to know these kids, what are you going to do? You look at the measurables, and I see 5'9", and I'm like, oh, he's little. He's little. Okay. I mean, how good can he really be? And then I watched him play, and I went back to it, and I saw he weighs 203, and I'm like, I don't know why I keep making that mistake. You can be 5'9", just because you're short doesn't mean that you're little out there. And he looks like a big presence, even though I'm sure teams wish he was 6 feet or 5'11", but he doesn't play little at all. You got to keep in mind that he is over 200 pounds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And twitchy as hell and powerful as hell.
Yes, good reactions, yeah.
I mean, we came from that old school time of where, like, safeties are 6'1", 220, and, linebackers are 6'3", 250. And it's just not that way in football anymore. Now some linebackers are 6'1", 220. And guys that are 6'3", 250 are defense ends. It depends on the defenses. It's a different era. But
so how high? How high will a 5'9" safety get drafted, you think?
Oh, I think I wouldn't be scared to take him in the top 20 picks of the draft. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys at 17 and this kid's sitting there, I'm Jerry Jones. I can't, FaceTime or Zoom in quick enough to the NFL to go, Antoine Winfield's our pick. I just, I'm going to read you a few lines here because as I'm sitting here reading it just to make sure I don't make my points. But, first thing I wrote is this kid's real rocked up and compact looking, like an Earl Thomas or a Quandre Diggs I wrote, who's also a Texas guy. And then I wrote, well, after 2 plays, this kid is my kind of mofo because I saw him come downhill like a bat out of hell and just wreck some running back in the hole. And I went, ooh, holy cow, who is this? But elite twitch and explosion, acceleration, top notch. We talked about the coverage skills and the ability to turn and run with people. I just all thought they were really special, let alone I honestly thought he played faster than his 4.4 time, 4.45. He will hawk you. You break out in the open, he enjoys getting in that foot race and running you down and showing how fast he is. I love that stuff. I get off on that. That's what a safety's supposed to be. He takes pride. Nobody's going to go 70 yards while I'm on the field. I'm going to run his ass down, and they're going to have to earn it to get in the end zone.
At first, I thought it was a compliment, and it is that you said, hey, late teens, take this kid. With the way you're describing him, why not 10 to 15? Would you take him that high?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not. I'm looking right now just through teams who might have that need there that's glaring at that spot. I don't know if there's a team that's in desperation. I need a safety there. But, Paul, I don't think that's a crazy thought. I don't. I'm just trying to look at a team that certainly would make sense there, But, listen, anywhere between – I guess I would say anywhere between 12 and after right now, as I'm getting a better feel for all, I think would work. I have no problem with that. This is a special player. This is tremendous range, tremendous ball skills as a free safety, really good play strength, really comes downhill fast. I just wrote at the end of the day, there's just no way the guy lasts on the board past pick number 25 in my eyes. There's just no way. And I was just making a kind statement right there.
What's your but with him, though?
I don't know if I don't know if I have a but. I don't know if there's anything that I sit here and I'm trying to go through my notes just a little more, but one of the last lines I wrote on the paper, because I hadn't seen everybody yet, I wrote was, I have a hard time thinking this won't be the best safety in the draft. I was pretty blown away by what I saw, and I think this was the 3rd safety I had watched on my list. And I don't see a lot of weakness to this guy's game, other than maybe, like you said, that size, but I don't think it's as big a deal as what people make it to be.
Plays big, and the fact that he's over 200 pounds and where they will play him, I think, matters a lot. The only two
Right.
questions I had: will Chris knock him because he's only 5'9", and we talked about that, and that's not an issue. And he ran in the 4.4s at Indy. Do you see him play that fast on film? And it sounds like the answer is yes.
Yeah, definitely. I did. And yeah, again, size is not overly important when you're a true free safety. And that's what this kid
Hmm.
is. He's a true free safety where, yeah, maybe you bring him in the box a few plays a game, but ultimately, what you want him to be is that back end guy who's going to be able to run sideline to sideline, help you out and be an extra guy in the run game from time to time. But in
Hmm.
pass coverage, he is going to be a beast. And I really do. I look at him like an Earl Thomas. I think he's going to be that perfect guy to be back there in the middle of the field, roaming the field, making quarterbacks really nervous.
And finally, kind of anecdotally here about Antoine Winfield, you're uniquely positioned to answer this question. I mean, you play the exact same position in the NFL that your dad played. Uh, Antoine Winfield is in the same position. His dad was a wonderful player at the exact same spot where he's going to play. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you connect those dots?
Well, I think the thing, he loves football. I think that's probably the
Hmm.
first thing when I connect those dots. You could tell with the passion, the way he plays on the field, the attitude, the body language when he's walking around the field or getting up after a tackle, or when the defense did fail, you could see his body language that it crushed him. He took it personal. So again, it's not always hand in hand that the great father passed down the traits, the physical traits to the kids, right? I mean, my dad didn't pass down everything to me, or maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd probably still be playing. But
What didn't
but
he give
either
you that he should
way,
have? What did Big
uh,
Phil leave out for you?
his ability to be like, he's just thicker and stronger human being. He has more caveman in him, so he could take he could take more punishment than I could. That's what he didn't give me all the way. But
That would make your
I
dad
just
feel good.
think,
That make him smile.
yeah, good,
Yeah.
good, yeah, he's more caveman. But the Antoine Winfield thing again. A lot of the times with these type of guys too is it's the family business, and this is all and you're invested in it, daily, weekly. You're at the dinner table talking about it. I mean, think of the Bosa
Hmm.
family. We're seeing it more
Yeah.
and more throughout the sport, because it's what you grow up in. You start to love it and appreciate all the things that go into making yourself a great player. And then, as
Hmm.
you love the camaraderie and the team
Yeah.
aspect and being disciplined and all those things. And, that's what you get sometimes when you draft the son of an ex-player.
Okay, there's your safeties. At one, you had Winfield, Minnesota, McKinney, Alabama at number two, Blackmon, Utah was three, Duggar from Lenore Ryan at four, and Ashtyn Davis at number five. No Isaiah Simmons. Chris will talk about him as an outside linebacker next week when you get into that position. And I think the two of us are doing a mock draft next Wednesday, I believe. We'll go through the whole
Oh,
first round. So
baby.
that'll be a fun one, too.
It will be. I'm cracking away through defensive tackles today. That's fun to watch. So I got defensive tackles, a few linebackers to do, and I'll be pretty much done with the people I need to see, at least for my job. I'm not going into like 300 deep in the drafts to figure that out, but I would bet you at this point right now, I've certainly watched over 100. I'm going to say somewhere between 120 and 150 total players, and at least got a good feel for the first 2 or 3 rounds of what might go down.
Before I let you go, favorite player you've seen so far, regardless of position, your number one guy.
Oh man, okay. Antoine Winfield Jr. is in that
Might be the
conversation.
guy.
Okay, he
Yeah.
might be the guy. Him, Clavon Chason, I think it would be between those two right now. I got man crushes on the way they play. I
Hmm.
do. I love their bodies, their explosiveness, and just kind of their swag on the field. I think they might be my two favorite guys in the draft right now.
No surprise, someone from LSU and the SEC. I appreciate you bringing up my Big Ten, though, and going with the
Yes,
Golden Gophers and
give them a
and
little love.
putting them in that group. There you go. Yeah. Well, Chris, that's your we double dip today. Top five corners and
Double
top five
dip. I
safeties.
think we
Take a
set a new
breath.
record as
Woo.
far as time of a podcast, but That's the way it is, baby. Look, they're starting the music. They're like, shut up, you two. Let's get going.
Telling us to stop finally. They got other things to do today. Well done. Good job, Chris.
Yep. You the man. Thanks a lot. Always appreciate your insight and your nuances there, big man. And, questioning me, it gives good conversation. But that's it for Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Thursday, going to be hitting the defensive tackles. Ahmed will be back in Paul's seat, okay? But either way, we're going to continue the draft deep dives. And next week, I'm going to do 3 different podcasts. The week of the draft, there's a lot to cover, a lot to hit on. Appreciate you, Paul. You the man. Everybody be good out there. Be safe. Stay at home. Listen to the experts and do what's right for society, not what's just right for yourself. Peace out, homies.
You the man.
Yo, what's up? Come on, man. Subscribe on YouTube to Chris Sims Unbuttoned Podcast. I need you. Please hit the subscribe button, please.